Hello there, my name's Lloyd Evans and you're watching the John Cedars channel from the bunker. And in this video, I want to talk briefly about an argument you occasionally hear from Jehovah's Witnesses, either in defense of their beliefs to outsiders or those who no longer believe as they do, or perhaps just in conversation between themselves. You will occasionally hear Jehovah's Witnesses say, even if my beliefs were not true, I would still want to be a Jehovah's Witness because this is the best life that you can have. I can remember myself either saying that or nodding along to that kind of reasoning, which doesn't make sense for reasons I will go into. But what's interesting is that Watchtower themselves promote that kind of thinking. In 2014, we're going back now, so apologies if I'm referencing old material. The video that we're going to see actually predates the JW Broadcasting episodes. The JW Broadcasting episode started in October 2014. The video I'm about to show you came out in around March 2014, and I wrote a blog about it at the time. This particular video, I think, is quite significant in the canon of Jehovah's Witness video propaganda because of the way the message has kind of embedded itself in Jehovah's Witness culture, so that you see it popping up occasionally on souvenirs that get handed around at conventions. It's a slogan, really, that Jehovah's Witnesses are even proud of. So I thought it would be interesting to go back to the original video and for the first time watch it with you guys and share my thoughts. So let's take a look.
When we're growing up, we all have to make decisions. We all have to choose which path we will take. My parents raised me as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. Our ministry, teaching others about the Bible, has always been an important part of my life. When I was a teenager, I wanted to expand my ministry, to take it to the next level. There were friends in my local congregation who had gone to foreign countries and helped teach people the Bible. Reading experiences from the yearbook motivated me that was a goal that I wanted to set for myself. After a few years of careful planning and saving, I was finally able to travel to Malawi. The people there had such a high respect for the Bible. You could talk to someone walking down the street, or living in a small house, or even a mansion, and all were interested in what the Bible had to say. This one time in Malawi, one of the workers invited us in. Then the head of the house invited all the workers, family members, came into the living room, sat down, and he said, "Okay, what would you like to tell us from the Bible?" And I'm just sitting there like, wow, this is incredible.
So this young Jehovah's Witness woman goes to Malawi to do what Jehovah's Witnesses call serving where the need is great. These people are sometimes referred to casually as need graters, essentially taking Watchtower's message to a part of the world where it's considered that there is growth, or the local witnesses could use the support of outside help in recruiting people from the community to join the religion. And this young lady is in Malawi telling us about her experience. And the best experience, or the showcase story that she's telling us, is about calling on a house and the owner of the property calling everybody to come listen to what she has to say. And that's the standout story from her time in Malawi. Not a story about someone whose life she genuinely improved through sharing the message. Not some glowing example of the positive benefits from applying Jehovah's Witness beliefs in her life. No, she called on a property and they were receptive to what she had to say. And what's interesting is we get this same thing popping up in a far more recent video that witnesses are being shown at their 2019 Love Never Fails conventions. I've already spoken about this if you've watched my rebuttal to the Saturday, the bonus rebuttal. I've touched on this already, but it's, again, eerie how the same thing pops up when they're talking about a more recent example of young witnesses going to a country, and the standout story is that people pay attention to what they have to say.
Once we were preaching by boat, and we arrived to one indigenous community, and a man on a motorcycle came and he started picking everybody up and collecting them. And we were worried at first. We thought that he didn't want them to listen to us, and so he was taking them all away. But it turns out in the end that he was the son of the chieftain there in that community, and he was gathering everyone together so that they could all listen to us.
It's something that you would never get to really do back home.
Again, how does this tell us anything about the merits of being a Jehovah's Witness or the truthfulness of the Jehovah's Witness message? All it tells us really is that you were speaking to people who were very receptive to hearing what foreign missionaries had to say, irrespective, you could argue, of whether they were Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormons or Pentecostals, whatever. These were clearly very receptive people who would have welcomed pretty much anyone, it seems, who purported to be sharing God's one and only truth from the Bible. So it's odd that in trying to make their argument for Jehovah's Witnesses having the best life ever, Watchtower can only present these sorts of stories in their defense. Put simply, the reason why Watchtower can't argue that this is the best life ever is because it isn't. But before I really get my teeth into why that is, let's finish watching the 2014 video.
It was so encouraging to be able to share Bible truths. Some days you'd be out for 12 hours riding home on the bus, dust coming in the windows, sharing a seat with 4 people. Even sometimes a chicken would be on your lap. You'd get off the bus and you'd have to walk 2 miles home and you're just exhausted, but you couldn't help but have a grin on your face because you felt like you accomplished something that day and that you were doing the best work you could possibly do.
So many good things yet to be done.
It wasn't easy leaving home, learning a new language, or even a new culture. But because of those experiences, it taught me to rely more on Jehovah.
And I will help you climb.
Sometimes when we're younger, we kind of get really involved in whatever environment we're in.
The ground. Look what I found.
When you step outside of that box and you experience something that you've never handled before, it helps you to grow as a person and serve Jehovah in ways you never thought were possible.
I know this will last forever. Come with me, you'll see this is the best life ever.
My name is Cameron. I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and I have the best life ever.
So that was the 2014 Best Life Ever video. Based on the video itself, it seems there's no compelling reason to suggest that those who follow the Jehovah's Witness religion have the best life ever. What we've seen is a young lady go to Malawi, preach to people, and come home. Maybe get through a few challenges, maybe speak to people and find some kind of joy out of sharing her absolute certainty with total strangers, which is an experience someone from almost any religion could have, what's unique about Jehovah's Witnesses in this video that you absolutely couldn't have in any other group? Let's just go back to basics and examine this argument that I started the video with. I'm one of Jehovah's Witnesses because even if my religion were not true, this would still be the best life ever. What should be your reason for following a religion? For following a religion that claims to be God's one and only true religion on earth? I would argue that you shouldn't be following it because it's the best life ever. You should be following it because it's true. That's what ultimately matters. It's quite conceivable that God's one and only true religion would not give you the best life ever, would actually give you a very difficult life. You see examples of that in the Bible, by the way, where you have God's prophets being treated abominably because they refuse to relent in preaching a message that makes them extremely unpopular. They didn't have a good life. They didn't have the best life ever, but they were, at least as far as the Bible is concerned, they were preaching truth. So it's kind of irrelevant in a way whether your life is the best life ever or not. It's either true or it's not true. There isn't really another reason to join a religion other than because of that central issue. But putting the issue of truth to one side, what does the Jehovah's Witness religion have to offer in terms of quality of life, in terms of emotional and psychological well-being, in terms of future prospects, in terms of potential for personal growth and development? I would argue not much. From the moment you're born, through infancy, all through childhood, your parents are under the assumption that they are failing if they do not pass on their beliefs to you as soon as possible. This is a religion that puts a huge emphasis on child indoctrination, and indeed we saw that in this Best Life Ever video where the girl says, you know, I was raised as a Jehovah's Witness. Well, of course, if you're raised as a Jehovah's Witness, you're not going to consider any other possibilities. You're not going to know of any other options. There's nothing to compare your best life ever with. Really, from the very beginning of their lives, Jehovah's Witnesses are at a disadvantage and therefore not the best life ever, if only because the children are not open to the possibility of any other beliefs being true but those that their parents are teaching them, those that their parents are required to teach them. And all of those teachings really point to the authority of the governing body as God's one and only faithful slave. If your thoughts aren't in harmony with what the faithful slave requires of you, then you're not a Jehovah's Witness. If you're not a Jehovah's Witness, then you're due to die when Armageddon comes. And it's precisely this morbid fear of annihilation at an impending Armageddon that haunts the minds of children who are raised in this religion, and indeed stays with them right through to adulthood. How you could possibly call a religion that terrifies children into believing they deserve to die unless they follow mummy and daddy's religion, how you could possibly call that the best life ever, I don't know. But we're not even done yet, because we then have the very real threat of shunning if the child grows up and decides the religion's no longer for them, or even if they just do something that displeases the leadership in some way. The penalty is shunning. The penalty is disfellowshipping. You are cut off from your family, from anyone inside the religion you've ever known and loved. It's a deeply cruel thing for any organization to weaponize family relationships and the possibility of them being severed in this way. And yet again, this is exactly the reality in a religion that calls itself the best life ever. I'm still not done. I could talk about Watchtower's terrible track record with child safeguarding. I could talk about the fact that Watchtower requires Jehovah's Witnesses to die rather than accept a blood transfusion. If you're a Jehovah's Witness who needs blood, who is told by their doctor, you will die unless you receive a blood transfusion, the best life ever can very soon and very tragically become no life at all. So again, just in summary, I think that any Jehovah's Witness who makes that argument, who says that it's the best life, whether it's true or not, they're revealing that they have at least some level of doubts. If you truly believe that Jehovah's Witnesses represents God's one and only true religion on earth, it's going to be hard for you to even verbalize the argument if my religion were not true. They're also revealing that truth isn't as important as perhaps it should be to them, because again, it shouldn't matter how great your life is as a result of being a Mormon, a Muslim, a Pentecostal, a Catholic. It should matter whether your religion is true. And if a Jehovah's Witness were to call, by the way, on a Catholic, and the Catholic were to say, actually, even if my religion weren't true, even if Roman Catholicism weren't true, I would still want to be a Catholic because it's the best life ever. If they were to encounter someone in their preaching work who said that, I guarantee they would be going down the driveway from that home, chuckling to each other at how dishonest that individual was, about how little it matters to them whether their religion is true or not, but they'd quite happily say the same thing to each other without noticing the double standard. And again, just in summary, even if we put the whole issue of truth to one side, when you examine what the Jehovah's Witness life is all about, and what demands are put on them, all of the restrictions, the threat of shunning, the fear of Armageddon. I haven't even gone into the extent to which the lives of Jehovah's Witnesses are micromanaged in every conceivable way. They don't have free choice over what they wear or what entertainment they watch. When you examine all of that side of things as well, it's very clear that there are far better ways of living a happy, satisfied, authentic, intellectually honest life than to chain oneself to an organization like Jehovah's Witnesses. But that's pretty much everything I wanted to share with you in this video. Don't forget to subscribe to the John Cedars channel for more such videos. But for now, thank you so much for watching.
Oh,